Imagine. It's a Sunday off your way to a housewarming. One of your friends has recently built their first home. You've picked up a present, you've maybe even baked a cake, and you're on your way on the road. You pull up to the driveway, and the first impression of that house is amazing. You see your friend eagerly awaiting at the front door, jumping up and down with joy, waiting to see you. You jump out of your car, you give him a big hug, and you walk through the house. As you walk through, your excitement grows for your friend, and so does your pride. Wow, you think to yourself, what has my friend achieved? The great Australian dream. You think to yourself as you take a quick moment, this could be me one day. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eddie Waffe, and I'm the National PDX Sales Manager for Porter Davis Homes. Today I'm going to go through the key things about breaking the barriers of buying a new home. What I'm not going to do today is try to sell you anything. Today is purely educational. So if you do have any questions post today's seminar, please feel free to hang back, come see us at our stand, and we're more than happy to go through that with you. Owning a home can mean different things to different people. For some, it's owning an appreciating asset. For others, it's the ability to put the foundation of how life could and should look like. At Porter Davis Homes, the idea of owning a home goes way beyond construction, design, style, or quality. For us, we believe it is the very cornerstone of life's hopes and aspirations and creates the vision of how life should and could be. It's why, above all, at Porter Davis Homes, we believe that respecting our clients and respecting their dream of home ownership needs to be at the forefront of everything that we do. Now, unless you've rocked up here by accident and you didn't realize this was a house and land expo, then you're probably here because the dream of home ownership is something that's crossed your mind. What we're going to do today is explore that dream of home ownership. We're going to go through the barriers that stop people from coming through and building a new home, and we're going to understand how it is that we can break them and get you there quick. Before we kick off, let's address the elephant in the room. Now, you've probably watched some news. You've probably read some articles, and you've probably heard your friends talk. There's been a lot about the construction industry. There's been a lot about building a home. We've seen things in the news, in news articles, on Facebook, you name it, about interest rates. We've seen interest rates continue to rise. We've seen information and news articles about the cost of construction rising. We've seen things like the material and supply demands are stopping people from being able to finish their builds. All pretty scary stuff. We've seen labour shortages, and we've also seen various construction companies in the highlight. We've seen people talk about not being able to fulfill builds. We've seen people talk about not being able to honour their pricing. Now, for the hard truths. For the most part, it is true. Interest rates are absolutely rising and have been doing so over the last couple of months. To put that into perspective for you, someone that was able to borrow last year and able to borrow this year potentially sees upwards of about $93,000 worth of borrowing capacity decrease. It's a big number, right? We've also seen some supply and demand issues. There's lots of people out in the market still wanting to buy. And through that, we've seen people actually move forward. Builders go ahead and go, right, we're keen to build. However, the materials and the labor are just not there. We've seen land costs increase. Land is an appreciating asset. That's a good thing. People that have purchased land 12 months ago will see land naturally increase in its value. And so does the buying cycle. If you bought land 12 months ago versus buying land today, you are going to see that you would have had some savings. And then builders. You've seen in the news have not been able to continue to operate profitably. Truth of the matter is, it is true. At Porter Davis, we're not afraid of having these hard conversations with you. In fact, we actually think it's an absolute necessity. We believe that building a home is a long-term partnership, which is why above and beyond everything, we believe that being upfront and honest with our customers is absolutely key to the success of your journey. Now, let's do a quick survey. Who here is looking at buying or building a house and finds the whole process a little bit confusing? Just raise your hands. Yep, cool. What about if you're looking at buying or building and you've already done some research and you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed? Just a raise of hands. Yep. Amazing. The key thing here, if you look around, is you're not alone. We've recently conducted a survey at Porter Davis with a group of first home buyers, people that are looking at getting into the market. And the two key themes that have come out of that research are people are feeling overwhelmed by the process and people are still feeling confused. And in reality, it is. It's a hard process and it is confusing. Back to that cake. Stick with me for a second. I'm not here to sell you any baking goods, but I do want to talk to you about a cake. That cake that you are baking for your friend's housewarming. If I asked you to bake a cake for the very first time, never having done so before, would you feel confident? The answer is probably no. What if I gave you a recipe and some ingredients to follow? Would baking that cake become easier? What if, as a professional baker, I sat there and helped you bake that cake with the list of instructions and ingredients? Would you feel more comfortable and confident? The answer is yes. That is exactly the point that I'm trying to make today. You need to surround yourself with a group of experts that know what they're doing. They can help you make the whole process of buying a house much simpler and help you overcome any objections or obstacles that might come past as you go through that process. What I recommend is that you build yourself a toolkit of experts. What does that look like and what belongs in this toolkit? The first thing is going to be someone who specializes in finance, right? We're going to come back and we're going to address each of these individually. But someone who specializes in finance. You're going to want someone who specializes in housing, knows what they're doing. And you're going to want someone who specializes in land. Let's talk finance. Starting off with finance, it's absolutely important that as one of the very first steps that you undertake, you understand your financial position. By that, what I mean is we often see a lot of people enter the market not really understanding how much it is that they can borrow, not really understand the finance aspect of buying or building actually works. Now that can be a dangerous thing for you because it's just going to mean that you're not going to be narrow and deep of what you can actually look for, and it's going to create some confusion that's unnecessary along the way. What you want to do is absolutely speak to a professional in this space. Now, I'm not a finance professional, so please don't come and speak to me about finance, but I can absolutely help guide you in the right path. We often get asked, what is the best avenue when we do speak to professionals? Is it a bank or is it a mortgage broker? Now, there's some key things that I want you to think about here. Both options are absolutely great, right? However, when you're speaking to a bank, they can only show you the options that are applicable to that specific bank. They can only show you the types of loans and interest rates that that one bank can provide. When you're speaking to a mortgage broker, they will simply have access to more lenders, which means they can compare one bank to another, to another, to another, and come and present options that are the best fit for you. Hot tip, if you are looking at building a house, so construction finance does vary, and not every bank and broker works in construction finance. So if you are looking at building, do speak to someone who does specialize in construction finance. Borrowing capacity. This is a big one. This is ultimately going to mean how much can I borrow? So when you're looking at buying a house, how much can I borrow needs to be a key question that you ask yourself. You're going to go through what's known as the serviceability. And this is ultimately just a check to see, based on your income and your expenses, how much you spend on your Uber Eats, on your afterpay, on all of that kind of stuff, can you actually afford the repayments based on how much you want? When we talk about savings, this is a big one, and we always often get asked, how much savings do I need to actually get into the market? The answer is pretty simple. You can get into the market for as little as 5%. There are government schemes available that really do help with this. So when you're looking at purchasing a home, and we're going to use a $600,000 house as an example here, you could get in for as little as $24,000. That is taking into account the first home buyer's grant and also the first home guarantee. When we look at incentives from the government, it's important to know what it is that you actually qualify for. As a first home buyer, the government has many initiatives in place to help you get to your first home sooner. The first one is your first home owner's grant. Now, we're probably all familiar with this. It's a $10,000 grant if you're buying a home in Victoria, and $20,000 if you're buying in regional Victoria. The next one is stamp duty exemptions. If you're a first home buyer, it's important to understand that you are eligible for stamp duty exemptions. If you're purchasing a home or land that is under $600,000, you don't need to pay any stamp duty. If you're purchasing anything between $600 to $750, there is actually a reduction that you pay. The next one is a really great one, which is the first home guarantee. Now, traditionally, there's this thing in finance called lender's mortgage insurance. Has anyone heard about lender's mortgage insurance before? Heard the term LMI? It's pretty much a sum that you pay on your actual loan. It's like a little insurance amount that you pay on your loan, which could add up to thousands of dollars through the track. Now, what this scheme here does is it actually guarantees up to 15%, which means that you don't need to pay that LMI, which means that you're saving on your home loan, which is pretty cool. The next couple you've got here, I'm not going to go into these into too much detail, but you can absolutely find us at our stand after today and we can go through these with you. But we've got the First Home Buyers Fund, and we've also got the Family Home Guarantee Scheme. These are just a few schemes in play that will help you go through and get to your first home sooner. So where to from here? You've spoken to a bank or a broker. You've got an idea of whether or not you can get into the market. And if you can't get into the market, that's okay. You've got some type of savings plan in place. You understand where your goal needs to be and how to get there. But if you can get into the market, you've got a couple of different options. Your options are pretty simple. You can either purchase an established property, so something in the suburbs. You can buy off the plan, or you can build brand new, okay? So the three different options. I'm sure there's more, but these are your three key ones. Buying versus building. This is a key one. What is the difference and why would you do one as opposed to the other? Well, when you're buying an established house, there's going to be some pros and cons to it. You're obviously buying a house that someone else has potentially lived in. A house that you haven't had the opportunity to customize. A house that you don't know realistically how old it is, and you don't know what is actually lying behind those plaster walls. Does it have issues? Does it not? It really can vary. The pros of it are you're buying it exactly as you see it. You're not having to wait extensive amounts of time to move in. You've got, generally speaking, a bigger backyard if you're buying in established areas, and there's a whole heap of other benefits there. When you're building, there's also some pros and cons to it. When you're looking at building a house, you can actually look at customizing elements of that house specific to your lifestyle and specifically to your family. It's generally going to be a brand new house, which means that you are going to get a builder's warranty. You don't need to wait and worry about, is there problems with this house that I don't know about? Is there hidden fees down the track? You're going to be able to make it your own and put your own stamp on it. Now, the cons of it, ultimately, sometimes you will have to wait. Sometimes you'll have to wait up to 6, 12, 18 months to get into your new house. And there's more on this a little bit later. So if you have decided to build, this is where it starts to get interesting. If you started to build, you need to really align yourself with a specialist, someone who works in construction. That is generally going to be a builder, like Porter Davis Homes, someone that can guide you through the way. You first want to select a house. You want to select a house that works for you. There are key things that I want you to think about when you're selecting a house for your toolkit. You want to ask yourself, what is the purpose of this home, right? Is this house my forever house? Is this house only to get me into the market? Is this house going to become eventually an investment house? You want to think about things like, what is important to me in this house? Do you work from home? Therefore, do you need a study? Do you like to bake a lot or entertain a lot and therefore need a bigger kitchen? Do you have children and therefore need bedrooms? Do you have the plans of building a family and therefore need more bedrooms? Do you work from home, all that kind of stuff? Think about future-proofing your home. Now, if this is a home that you intend on living in short-term and selling later, it's important that you also future-proof your home. Make smart decisions that will be applicable to people later on. So if you decide that you don't need the 4 bedrooms and you want to knock 3 of them out to make one big living area, think about resale value. Is that going to appeal to majority of people in the future? Simple answer, it's not, guys. Just going to break that up for you there. When you look at the pricing from builders, including Porter Davis, you need to understand what's included. Most of the time, the price that you see advertised online isn't the full price. Some cases it might be, but for majority of the time, it's not. The price of a house is going to consist of your base price, your facade price, which is how the outside of your house looks like, your estate covenants, site costs, bushfire, if anything is required, and any additional upgrades that you may choose to make. You want to really make sure that you work within your budget. So when you're selecting the perfect home, work within your budget. You've got an idea of how much it is that you can afford. You really want to understand what is important to me. You want to educate yourself on, if I did this today, what does that mean for me tomorrow? So if you're looking at things like upgrading your stone bench tops, they're beautiful to have, and you turn around and you go, but in the future I might have children and therefore need extra bedrooms, you probably want to invest your money in the extra bedrooms, aka a bigger house, than investing the money in something like stone bench tops that can easily be changed later in the future. Once we've got the house element figured out, you've worked out your budget, you've worked out your finances, you've spoken to a finance specialist, you've now worked out your house, you've found the right house, you've spoken to a house specialist, you've got 2 parts of your toolkit established. It's time to talk about land. Land is an amazing thing. In newer developing areas, places that sell land are known as land estates. Okay, so land estates. With these ones here, every land estate is going to have different amenities. Some land estates will have shopping centres and schools. Some land estates will have swimming pools and gyms and train stations and public transport and all that kind of stuff. It's important to establish which location is best suited for you. Once you've landed on a location, once you've landed on the estate that you want to live in, it's really important to pick the right block, because picking the right block can actually save you thousands of dollars. And here's why. When you pick a block, there are some key items that you want to look out for. Site costs, estate covenants, corner lots, and body corporate, just to name a few. We're going to explore these in just a sec. Site costs. When you build a house, to make this as simple as possible to understand, the construction company needs a flat surface to be able to build the house. All right, does that make sense to everyone so far? Cool. So with that there, site cost is ultimately the cost for the builder to actually prepare that block of land. That might be scraping a bit of that land away to make it a flat surface. It might be removing the rock from underneath the ground to make it feasible. The next one is estate covenants. where you choose to build, there's going to be a set of rules known as developer guidelines. This is a set of rules that the particular location will say you must follow. For example, they might want a specific type of roof, or a specific type of brick, or a specific type of style. All of these things can actually cost you money. The next one is corner lots. Corner lots are great. I love them. I've actually got a corner lot. However, corner lots can actually cost you money down the track. When you buy a corner lot, most of the time you're going to need to replicate the front of your house on the side of your house, right? So for example, if you've got a certain style of windows at the front, you're probably going to need to have it, again, facing on the side street of your house. This is an extra cost for most part. So just be wary of this. If you're working within a budget, as great as corner lots are, they might not be the best fit for you to save money. The last one is body corporate. So when you buy into an estate, some estates have amenities. Some estates have a local swimming pool. They might have a gym. They might have a golf course. Sometimes in these resident clubs, there is an ongoing body corporate fee that you might need to pay. So double check this, and if those amenities are not going to be important to you, it might be worth looking elsewhere. If that all sounds a little bit difficult, house and land might be the best option for you. So instead of you working out the house and then following through and finding the right block of land in the right estate, you might want to work through a house and land option. What house and land is ultimately the builder will find the best blocks across an available Victoria and put the best houses on there. These are generally a fixed price package, which means the price that you're seeing advertised is the total cost, unless you choose to make any further changes. When we look at talking deposits for this, you've got to understand that with house and land, or purchasing a block of land and then purchasing a house, it will generally tend to be two separate contracts. Okay, so two separate contracts. You're going to have a house contract and a land contract, and you're more than likely going to need a deposit for the house and a deposit for the land. For the house, you're generally looking at 5%, and for the land, it's anywhere between 5 to 10%, so just factor that in. The other one that I want to highlight with you guys is timelines, and this is a critical one. When talking timelines, it's important to understand that there are two types of blocks of land that you can buy. You've got what's known as titled or untitled land. Just a raise of hands, who knows what these terms mean? 1, 2, 3, 4 people? Fantastic. Titled land ultimately means that the land is ready to build on. It means that we can start construction pretty quickly. Untitled land just simply means that that land is currently being developed. It means that that land may not be ready to build on, and you just want to ask the developer how long it's going to take. If you're in a rush to get into your home, untitled land can sometimes be anywhere from 6 months to 12 months, 13 months. Just ask the questions. So how can we help at Porter Davis? The first one is finance. So I talked about the importance of finance. At Porter Davis, we've teamed up with Mortgage Advice Bureau, who is also known as MAB. These guys are phenomenal mortgage brokers who understand construction finance inside and out. They've got the ability to sit down with you for an absolutely obligation-free finance check. They can work out for you how much it is you can borrow. They can do things like credit checks for you. They can go assessment and put you on a savings plan. These are the people we want to be speaking to today. We've got MAB available at our stand after today's session if you do want to have a chat. The next one is PDX. PDX is a range of homes specifically designed at Porter Davis for first home buyers. It tackles affordability at the heart of all things. It embodies design, style and quality and provides 100% fixed price upfront for our clients. It's quick, which means we can get you to contract within 5 weeks. So if you do have titled land and you want to get started as quickly as possible, we can get you to site within 12 weeks, which is phenomenal. The next one is lifestyle. Lifestyle is the ability to go through and allow you to go through slightly variable because you do have more flex. The more flex you have, the more costs may be incurred. The next one is townhomes. At Porter Davis, when we tackle affordability, townhomes may be a really good consideration for you. For first home buyers, downsizers, or even investors, townhomes may be the best option for you. They're a one-part contract, making it nice and simple to understand. You're paying 10% deposit up front and then nothing more to pay until the construction of the townhouse is complete. This means that you can ultimately continue to keep saving money while the house is under construction. House and land at Porter Davis is your other option. We briefly touched on house and land before, and with that there, we talked about the ability to go through to our developers and find land on your behalf. At Porter Davis, we absolutely specialize on that and have key developer networks that can find you the best blocks in Victoria with the best houses at 100% fixed price. And then lastly, we've got Porter Davis Real Estate. With Porter Davis Real Estate, this is like buying an established house, except you get all the perks of a brand new build. These houses are ready to move into within 30, 60, 90 days for the most part. They are a one-part contract, which means you only pay 5% up front and 95% at the end when you get the keys to your house. They are 100% full turnkey and fixed price, so it may be a good option if you're a first home buyer or an investor that wants the absolute simplest path. So, I'll kick over to my friends over there just to show you a little bit about what we're about, and we'll open up for any questions after the seminar.
Coming up on the live stage is our auction conducted by auctioneer Untitled Chapter from Exemptions on the main stage.
And that's a wrap, guys. Thank you very much for participating in today's seminar. We are in the middle over there. If you guys do have any follow-up questions, there is a team of us waiting to go through and answer anything that you might have. Thanks again, guys, and enjoy the rest of your Saturday.